Welcome to our October edition of Let's Get Growing. Busy time in the landscape. It's cooling off, but you should be heating up. And so in October, we're probably still going to be mowing once a week. And as we mentioned last month, you're going to need to raise that mowing height so that we can extend the length of the blades, and we're putting more roots down to help the grass make it through winter. So mow once a week. Now, we're out planting in October because we know this is a great time for planting in the landscape. Things are on sale at the nursery. We're replacing that material that died during the drought. And you know, the excessively wet spring didn't help us. So after you've watered all this in, don't forget to keep watering. And after you've planted, about every 3 days, and then in November we can back off that watering. On your tree pruning, let's just get all that dead or diseased wood out and hold off on our major pruning just another month or so. And remember to pull up all your spent annuals before you put in your new annuals and add those to the compost pile. Now, divide your perennials like irises and lilies, but if you're not dividing, remember to cut off those spent tops, but only the spent tops. It's important that we let them die all the way back to the bulb so those nutrients are there to jump off in the spring. As we mentioned before, watering in those newly planted areas, well, this is a list of plants you should be putting into the ground now. Trees, particularly, we are going to want a reproductive layer. It doesn't matter how many trees you have in your yard. They're probably all the same age, and when they start to decline, they'll all go at the same time. So we should have a reproductive layer coming on at all times. So come to Arbor Day and pick up a free tree, and you too can have replacement trees growing in your yard. But remember, this list includes other things that you should be planting at this time of year. When you're adding those spent annuals, etc., to the compost pile, remember to put in that dead material. The fallen leaves are important to add to your compost pile. The most nutrient-filled leaf that you can put in your compost pile are oak leaves, but they're all important. So remember, we always have composting classes going on in Grand Prairie. You can check our website. There'll be another one this spring, but in the meantime, collect that compost, don't bag it, and add it to your compost pile. All right, last but not least, in October, let's remember to feed the birds. This is what we call a sansevieria, or mother-in-law's tongue, and you can see this one is variegated. Now, on most sansevieria, we can make leaf cuttings by taking the leaf like this, let it lay out for a couple of days so that it hardens over like this, and then you would take it and simply add some soil to a container. Okay, so we're going to wait until this end has dried. I don't have time for that during this demo, so we're just going to take it and plant it. And all you do is take the cutting, make sure you keep the top up and the bottom down, and put it in the soil, make sure it's firm, and you're planted. But remember that this is variegated. It'll come back solid green. In order for it to be variegated like this one, we're going to need to separate. And so that's our next step, is for me to show you how to separate a sansevieria. So it's very easy to separate this sansevieria so that we can maintain the variegation. And all we're going to do is remove it from the container. And you can see that it's already started to root fairly well. And so we're going to take it, knock the existing soil off, and you can see this one just literally separated on its own. But you can see right here, this little white is where it disconnected itself from the mother plant. And so we have this little baby on this side. So watch carefully as we separate. So now we've gone from one mother plant and 2 pups to 3 viable plants. And so let's plant these up. Over here we have a nice potting mixture, loose and fairly moist. And so we're going to fill it up, and let's start with the mother, or our stock plant. And see how I'm holding it between my fingers so that I can maintain the original soil level. And then I'm just going to add soil all the way around. And then firm it. The most important thing when you're repotting is to make sure that these little babies are firm, not packed or crammed, but firm in the pot. You need to leave a little lip around the edge so that you can water it and make sure that it's not running out of the container. If we fill it up and to the top, then we know we've given enough moisture to this plant.
So
here we have one of the babies, and we start out by adding a little potting material to the bottom. And as you can see, let's start over. This container has many holes in it because the Sansevieria is a succulent, meaning that it doesn't need a lot of water. The second thing is it'll take the reduced light in the house. We'll want to give it a little bit more light when they're first growing, like a south window during the middle of the winter. And we add our soil going around and make sure that we're getting those roots nice and evenly packed. Firm it. We don't want the soil in the crown. Kind of dump that out. And once again, just like as on the mother, we're leaving a little lip because we know that this soil is going to settle. But we're going to fill it nicely, leaving a lip so that we can water it correctly. And it's important that after we've planted that we water. So we still have one more to go. And fill it once again. And then see how the roots are evenly distributed? We want to make sure that we're leaving them as they were originally coming off the plant. Circle as we put our soil in. Kind of clean it out of the crown. Firm it. Make sure you pull it up. We don't want it too deep in the soil. We want to maintain that original soil level. Firming, but not packing too tightly. Don't press too hard. See, I'm just making sure that it doesn't shake when I move the pot. All right? Take the soil out of the crown. And there we have the baby planted. This is another Sansevieria. So we've gone from 1 to 3. Well, as we mentioned in October, things are heating up in the landscape and cooling off at night. So you need to let's get growing and plant, plant, plant.